Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar, The Best in Themed Cruise Experiences, presented by StarVista Live. My name is Cara Kurtz and I am the Business Development Coordinator at ASA, and I will be the organizer for today's presentation. We are happy to welcome today's presenters, Mike Jason and David DeFranco with StarVista Live. Mike is the head of StarVista Live and also an executive producer for several of the experiences. Mike works very closely with David DeFranco, CEO of Corporate Travel Services, the service and hospitality partner of StarVista Live. Both of these gentlemen come to us today with an abundance of industry knowledge. Before I get started, I'd like to point out a few important features on your screens that will allow you to interact with us via the web today. We will be answering all of your questions at the end of this presentation. To ask a question, you will be using the Go To Webinar pane. Near the bottom of this pane, there is an area that says Questions. If you click the arrow next to where it says Questions, it will open up a window pane, and this is what you will be using to communicate with me today. If you're having trouble hearing the presentation, please make sure that your speakers are turned all the way up. If you've called in, try hanging up and dialing back in again. You can send me any technical issues via this questions pane, and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. Here you can also find a downloadable PDF copy of today's presentation. Please be sure to download this PDF, which includes contact information, before the webinar is ended, as it will be the only time it is accessible. Please also note that audience members are muted. We certainly want to hear from you, but with so many people on the call today, background noise would prove to be prohibitive, and we want to ensure that everyone can hear our entire presentation. Again, one lucky webinar attendee will win a 5-night deluxe ocean view cabin for two on the Ultimate Disco Cruise 2020, sailing from Miami, Florida, February 10th through 15th. From our lovely presenters today. While another one of our lucky webinar attendee winners will win a $100 Visa gift card courtesy of AXA. Not nearly as exciting as the cruise, but a small token of our gratitude for you all joining us today. You must be on this presentation from beginning to end to win either of these giveaways, and we will be announcing the winner live after our Q&A session. Finally, please remember that this webinar is being recorded and will be available for your on-demand viewing pleasure at AXA.org by the end of the week. Now, without further ado, let's get started, and it is my pleasure to introduce Mike and David. Mike, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Cara. I really appreciate that and appreciate the attendees. We can start the slideshow. So let me tell you a little bit about StarVista Live. We're a division of Direct Holdings Global, and really it's an outgrowth of the Time Life brand of companies. So we're really a Time Life company. We've been in business with StarVista Live since 2010, and you can read through this, but I think the key things are that we're a very large company. We're owned by Dick Clark Productions. We've been doing themed music cruises for about 10 years. We've done about 40 of them, and we have deep relationships in the in music and entertainment business, so we're able to really get great talent to join us. And after 40 cruises, I'd like to think that we have the logistics and the guest management skills that really are so important in this kind of a situation. David? So here's a portfolio, if you will. Starting from the upper left, we have the oldest established cruise theme. Each of our cruises is full ship, and it's totally immersive experience. This is Malt Shop Memories, music from the late 50s and early 60s. It's going into its 10th year, and it's one of our most successful cruises. The alumni retention rate is incredibly high. The enthusiasm level is incredible. Our second oldest one is Soul Train. We're going into our 7th cruise there, and it's from great R&B from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And then we have Country Music Cruise, classic country. Flower Power for the flower child in all of us. 70s rock and romance, which is music from the 70s, Southern rock, and our newest is the Ultimate Disco Cruise, which we cruised the first time in February of this last year and had a fantastic time. We also do a land-based event called Abbey Road on the River, and it's a little bit different for us in that it's land-based and it's a local in Louisville, Kentucky area.
Folks, this is David DeFranco, and now that Mike has given you a quick introduction to StarVista, I think what I'm going to do in selecting how to introduce myself is say first and foremost that essentially I am one of you. The company I own, Corporate Travel Service, is a travel agency. It was started by my father back in the 60s, so for a number of decades we've been working hard, as you do, to give our clients the very best experiences we can find for them. But just like you, in addition to finding great experiences, there's other things that we pay strict attention to. The ease of interface with the suppliers we partner with, the commission levels that they afford us. So we look at the work we do for the financial perspective, and then the amount of support they give us along the way all factors into whom we construe to be our best partners as we're serving our clients. And we've been collaborating with StarVista now for just over 5 years, and truly on all of those fronts, we've found nothing but success and great partnership. Our clients are pleased, and as I want to share with you now on all those other metrics, we find that this is just an amazing opportunity for travel agencies. I'll start with just a quick talk about the financial side of things. And the commission structure as StarVista offers that to the travel agencies of the world. Very simply, they offer a 10% commission. And what's really key to note about this, however, that might get lost if it's not really brought to focus, is that for those of us who are dealing with the different cruise lines, we're familiar that typically the cost of the cruise, what your clients pay for the cruise, is reduced before commissions are calculated. They pull out the NCFs, the non-commissionable fees. They pull those out, and so your commission percentage is based on really a smaller slice of what is actually being funded by your client. StarVista does not do that. They do not remove the NCFs. So the 10% applies to the true and full cost of that cruise. And what that does, of course, is inflate the base and make it more profitable for us as their partner. The second thing to note is that this is a premium product. So the entertainment, the interaction, all the value that's added by StarVista to make these cruises what they are allows them to sell this for a premium price. And when you're calculating 10% on a higher cost cruise, higher certainly than the same sailing on a Celebrity or perhaps a Holland cruise would be for that typical itinerary, it's very, very beneficial for us as the travel agents marketing these products. And as you can see there, it equates to an average of $600 per cabin commission. In addition to the straight commission, there's a tour conductor accommodation that they afford us. One tour conductor, one berth is earned for every 15 berths that are sold. I would just comment here that this is more, to StarVista, this is more than just a sales incentive. They do a good job of making sure that the travel agents on board, if they are able to partake on this cruise, have the opportunity to really spend time with the guests that they've brought, the clients that they've served, whether it's individually or as a group in a private function. StarVista wants you to build that bond with your people, and they want those guests to see you as the person who brought this experience to them. And so they encourage that with this program. And then lastly, for those of us who are able to bring larger volumes, there's a $1,500 bonus for every $150,000 in sales, which is, I don't know, roughly 20 to 25 cabins down the road in a season. If you can recruit that many clients to the products, it benefits you even further. We talked about the interface, or I mentioned the interface that we have with StarVista, and it's wonderful. There's three things here that I just want to make sure you're aware of. First is that, as Mike mentioned, StarVista is a part of the Dick Clark Productions family, along with Time Life. Their marketing resources and experience on how to promote their products is truly profound. And so they are doing tons of work all year round to make these products known. And this is on Sirius Radio, this is with on television and on radio. They're promoting their products. And what we found is that probably more than half the time when we introduce this product to a potential client, they've already heard of it. They've seen an infomercial. They're familiar with what this is. Yeah, I've heard about those wonderful theme music cruises. And that makes the sales process so fluid and comfortable because they're already curious about it before you bring it to their attention. That's very helpful. The second thing is that you as a travel agent and they as your clients receive a lot of support. There is a reservation center with toll-free numbers that your clients can call anytime between 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday, and then on Saturday they have hours between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Eastern time. And this gives them a resource, so if they have questions about their travel, about passport needs, whatever it is that's on their mind, they have a direct connection to StarVista and their products to get those questions answered. Conversely, you as travel agents also have a dedicated resource. They have someone who is a part of their family of reservationists. Her name happens to be Jessica, who is dedicated to serving the travel agents. So sometimes there's questions you may have about your interface with StarVista, about your client's experience. And we have someone who's there during those same hours to make sure they can answer your questions as well. And then lastly, as you see in red there, keeping your clients happy. The alumni of these cruises book at upwards of 50%, and rebook rather at a rate of upwards of 50%. And that says two things. Number one, it indicates the quality of the product. The reason people come back is because they had such a wonderful experience the first time. And we have had people on cruises like Malt Shop and Soul Train that have been on every sailing, more people than you may guess. And the other thing it tells us, though, is that the relationship StarVista wants to have with you is a permanent one. Those people you bring, if they return, they remain your client. You receive credit for bringing those people back year after year. It's not one and done. We respect that relationship, and StarVista does as well. Mike?
Yes, so here are some of the ways that we drive awareness, and we call it a 360-degree marketing campaign for our cruises. We do alumni marketing, so we really spend a lot of time nurturing the alumni with newsletters, emails, special messaging. We have a substantial email program that goes on all year, gives them information, gives them some artist interviews, and also helps promote. Artist marketing, we market through every artist. So we have an arrangement with every single artist that appears on board for them to promote the cruise through their live events or on their website. So that drives awareness. One of the things we do where we work with partners. And so in each area, we find those marketing partners that speak to our demographics. So it might be Black Entertainment Television on Soul Train, or it's the Grand Ole Opry for country music. Sirius XM, various stations, and what we do is we work with them to nurture the relationship that they have with the music and with us, and to drive, frankly, awareness and sales for us. We do national cable TV. We work extensively with travel agents, and we're there to support you with that relationship. Nationally syndicated radio, digital marketing, social media, and of course our call center is unparalleled. So we spend substantial amounts of time really driving awareness and also nurturing that alumni group to come back and tell their friends and family.
One more slide, I think, just in recap to what we've discussed so far. We'll pause here before we go on to the next bit, which concerns more of the experience on board, is just a recap of some of the things we just discussed, and I'll bring specific attention to the two that are marked in red. We talked about the dedicated travel advisor That person is a great asset to you as travel agents, and we encourage you to interface with that person and lean on that person to make sure that you are being served as an organization, as well as your individual clients being served as travelers. But they have the ability, and you have the ability, to book your clients either by calling our reservation center and doing it by phone, and maybe the first couple times that makes the most sense till you get your sea legs, so to speak. But there's also an online portal, and you and they can make the reservation online, and if they do, the credit remains to you. They're in the system as your client, and it's a very efficient way that allows them to enroll themselves on one of these cruises 24 hours a day. And the other piece, I have to move excuse me while I move this cursor to the side so I can see my own screen here. Exclusive onboard experiences for your clients. Well, we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a moment, but the real key here is what these people experience when they're on board. And it is so much more than a typical cruise. It has all the assets, all the advantages of a typical cruise, but then so much more.
So I think I spoke briefly about some of the specific cruises that we have. So I'll try and hit some of the highlights. Our 10th anniversary is coming up for Malt Shop Memories. And for music that relates to the late 50s, early 60s, it's amazing to us that it continues as strongly as it does. It's obviously getting it to be an older demographic and an older demographic of artists. But we've had a fabulous time. These are the most loyal guests that we have. They really feel like it's their cruise, and we get an unbelievable amount of input that we do listen to from guests. We really welcome input. We're kind of a company that takes advice from people and really tries to implement it if we can. This year we have special guest Smokey Robinson, who's doing a great kind of a storyteller performance where he talks, people ask him about a specific song, he'll tell the story of writing it or the first time he performed it or where it came from, and then he plays it. So Smokey will be with us for the first time. We have the Beach Boys, the Letterman, and Girls Night Out, featuring a number of female artists, Freddie Cannon, Gary Lewis, and you can read the rest. There are many, many more. We typically have 15 to 20 artists, headliners, if you will, on each cruise. So the and more is a substantial number of people, but we're excited. We're going to our 10th anniversary, so we'll have some special things planned for Malt Shop Memories. Soul Train, this is the hippest trip at sea. If you like to dance the Soul Train line, you have a chance every night in the disco from about 2 to 3 in the morning. This is probably our latest night crowd. They're just a wonderful, energetic group of folks. I have to set my alarm for midnight to get up to go to the disco and say hi to them because I can't stay up that late. But it's a wonderful group. And this year we've got a little bit younger artists than we've had in the past. The Jacksons, the Isley Brothers, Johnny Gill, Cameo, Peebo Bryson, Moore, Atlantic Star. And of course, Don Cornelius' son, Tony Cornelius, is with us, which is wonderful. He knows all the artists really well. He was a producer of the Soul Train show for many years, and he's at that direct link for Don, who was a legendary figure in the music business. And so Soul Train is definitely our most energetic and maybe one of our most fun cruises. It's just great music and a great time and a wonderful group of people. Country music, if you like classic country music, this is the place for you. It's a music-oriented cruise. There are more performances on this cruise than any other. I always tell the story that if I throw 3 guitars down randomly someplace on the ship, there will be 3 artists to pick them up and start playing. They just can't walk by without playing the impromptu. So we have midnight jam sessions, we have guitar pulls, we have songwriter workshops where they tell the story of the song and then play it. And of course, we've got all the great performances. This year we have Larry the Cable Guy, injected a little humor, Tracy Lawrence, the Oak Ridge Boys, Pam Tillis, the Gatlin Brothers, Lorianne Crook is our host. And so we're really part of the Nashville fabric. The Grand Ole Opry actually comes on board and does a Grand Ole Opry at Sea night. So this is lots of fun if you love music. And we have a superstar competition where the guests try out, and the winner on the last night opens for our headliner. And I have to say, we've had some unbelievably talented guests on board. So it's probably our only cruise that we do that on, but it's pretty unique. Ultimate Disco Cruise. This is another late night crowd. Our first year was this last February, and what we did is we took the Studio 54, or the Saturday Night Fever dance floor, and brought it on board and put it into the dining room. And every night we had a studio, we called it Studio 55 for trademark purposes, but every night from around 11:15 to 3 or 4 in the morning, everybody came down and danced. We had DJs, and it was really kind of a late night gathering point. As you could see, it's Casey and the Sunshine Band, the Jacksons, the Commodores, the Pointer Sisters, Harold Melvin's Blue Notes. There's a theme of R&B, upbeat R&B that's in here as well, but it's lots of great disco and a lot of fun. It's our most diverse crowd in every way, shape, or form, so that's a lot of fun, and we were really pleasantly surprised at how well it went the first year, so we're excited to be doing this again next year. 70s rock and romance. I grew up in this era, so this is maybe my favorite music. We've done this now for 3 years, and we're moving from 5 to 7 days next year. Got a great itinerary, and we'll have lots of performances. So Cheap Trick in America, Don Felder of the Eagles, Randy Bachman, Todd Rundgren, Jefferson Starship, Rita Coolidge, and lots more. This is the music of the early 70s. It tends to be rock and a bit of soft rock. Wonderful group of artists that are on board. Very music driven. It's lots of hits and songs you remember. And there's a romantic feeling on this cruise. Lots of couples and people kind of enjoying some time away from home and really spending some time together. So it's a wonderful experience. And Flower Power, this has been our probably our biggest hit, I would say. We sold out within 24 hours of returning this year. For next year, we're actually contemplating another Flower Power cruise. It was so successful. Again, this will be our 5th cruise, and it has the Hollies and the Zombies and the Turtles and Arlo Guthrie, the Grassroots, Rare Earth. Lots of 1966 to 1973, the kind of AM radio pop hits. Not so much the acid rock, but the lighter side of the late 60s. It's wonderful. The people dress up in bell bottoms and flower in their hair, and some of them, I think, probably spend the year that way, and some of them dress up just for the cruise. But it's a great group of people, and they really have a special feeling for this era of music and this cultural era in the country too. So we find it's they really feel ownership of this cruise. So land-based events, we're mostly a live entertainment cruise company, but we are looking at a couple land-based events. Abbey Road on the River is something we do every year. It's 4 days in Jeffersonville, Indiana. It's the largest Beatles-inspired music fest in the world. If you love the Beatles, you will love this event. It is every combination and time period of the Beatles all in one place. Another thing we're looking at is taking the Southern Rock cruise onto land. So probably in spring 2021, we will do a 4-day Southern Rock cruise in Mexico. So we're in the middle of planning that, and we're really excited that it gives us a chance to operate in some months that we don't operate in now. A land-based thing gives us some opportunities maybe to get some artists who don't want to go on the ship, and some guests who don't like cruising as well. So we're rounding that out, and we feel that's an offering that we can give our loyal fans. We have so many people that go on multiple cruises. We have routinely people go on 3 or 4 cruises a year. It's really amazing. The product, I think, speaks to them, and as long as they enjoy the music, they will actually go on multiple cruises, sometimes back to back, sometimes a couple of months apart, but very loyal fans.
Just a comment, if we could, on the onboard experience. I think the word that applies best to these cruises is really a festival experience. There's a lot going on at once. So in addition to the concerts, when you hear Mike discuss these incredible acts and the performances that they give on board, the live performances, there's really even much more beyond that. Scheduled along the way throughout the itinerary are autograph sessions, private cocktail parties with these artists, meet and greet sessions, and photo opportunities, and even with growing frequency, there's things that are being scheduled by StarVista in port, on land, when we pull into the different ports of call. But the key to it all is that the guests, the clients that you bring, will be doing so much more than just listening to music or just taking a cruise. And what we find, what they're really doing is they're taking a trip of nostalgia. It's not just a trip to a destination. It's not just going to a concert. They really do seem to step back in time from the standpoint that all 2,000 guests on board the ship are there for that same unified reason. And they're reliving the happiest and most exciting chapter of their lives. And I'll take the opportunity here to say that when you think about introducing this suite of cruises to your clients, I think a great place to start is not to start talking about a cruise so much as asking them about the music. What music do they listen to? What era do they consider their own? What were they dancing to when they were in high school or college, and in their younger years that they like to relive and listen to on their way to work every day? Because this is what we're offering them, is really a step back in time, and they feel young again, and they just enjoy reliving that chapter of their own past. The StarVista promise is posted here. I encourage you to read it. What I would just say here is that StarVista does more than just make this promise. It's more than a mission statement or a set of words. They really defend it fiercely. They really intend to give unique entertainment, bringing together a group of people who are like-minded to relive those moments of their history and make new friends. After a couple years, these cruise ships, because of the high alumni return rate, feels like a family reunion year after year when these people get back on board. And to put it in context, we've been collaborating with StarVista long enough to have seen many instances where other cruise products, other music genres, have been suggested or offered as potential theme cruises that StarVista could run and operate and produce. And unless they really believe sincerely that they can create this promise on board that experience, they'll pass. They'll wait. They want to make sure they get the right lineup, the right artist, they have the right product, so that everybody who takes advantage of that opportunity wants to return again. And what is the experience? 2,000 like-minded fans. It's a full ship charter. They have worked with a number of the names you would recognize. They have worked with Royal, and they have worked with NCL. But Celebrity and Holland America Line are the two that feature most frequently for StarVista as hosts for the StarVista cruises. Usually between 5 and 7 night cruises. Intimate concert venues. Keep in mind that the maximum capacity of these theaters is usually just under 1,000 people. So even if you're in the back of the theater, you have a great seat compared to the 25 to 50,000 person arenas that these artists normally perform for. You pull into 2 or 3 ports, you have a few days at sea, and you have all those interactive events and engagements and guest activities that are planned. And so to go through the ones I listed just scratches the surface. There's sports activities planned, there's games and renewal of vow ceremonies and all kinds of things that are created in a way that it sort of forces and ensures that the clients get to see, hear, speak to, and or speak with rather, and interact with these guest performers. The theme nights, the last bullet there, is a real important one. They're loads of fun. Each night there's typically a different theme, and there's, depending on the cruise, the theme nights change, right? So you can imagine that Funk Night applies great on the on the Soul Train cruise, but then there's Groove Night on the Flower Power cruise, and all kinds of different theme nights that allow people to sort of, in a very fun and comical way, step into the sort of the stereotypes of the era and just have fun reliving those moments, and they're always a party atmosphere. A brief word about the guests. It says here the key demographic is 50 and over. That's pretty typical. Many of our guests are retirees, or some are at least planning for their retirement in the near future. Most are at an age where they've raised their families and the kids are out on their own, and now they're looking to go have some fun and step back into their own past as a couple. They have a discretionary income that allows them to invest in an experience like this, and they are loyal. They return and they come back. And we have guests who come on board and say to us, I've been on X number of cruises. Maybe my wife and I have taken 25 cruises over the last several years. We're avid cruisers. And then they will finish and say, and I'll never do that again. Because the experience we've had on board here has redefined for us what a cruise experience can and should be. And if I've heard that once, I've heard that 1,000 times. And there's another category of people who come on board who've never cruised before. We spoil them. We allow them to think that all cruises are like this. So they come on board, they've never been on a cruise before, and they experience all this excitement and all this joy. And I think that talks to the concept that if they've never cruised before, but they're participating in our product at StarVista, they're participating because they're really seeking out the music experience and that nostalgia that's offered so well on board. Mike?
Absolutely. So, one of the things is we'll see genre-defining superstar artists. So, you'll see Leonard Skinner there. They came on board and just rocked the ship completely. And we've had Smokey Robinson and the Beach Boys and Frankie Valli, and we've had Earth, Wind, and Fire, and we've had, the very biggest artists within the time periods that we're dealing with. And we also spend time trying to make sure that those artists are really immersed in activities with the guests. So our artists really like people. They like being there. The guests are wonderful folks that, are really respectful of the artist, but you won't have a problem with the artist taking a picture or stopping by a table at dinner to say hi, or joining the guests for dinner. We find some of the guests have become friends with the artists, and I see them on Facebook socializing together, when they visit the specific town that the artist is in. So lots of superstar artists, but the feature is that they do like people and they do interact. Very small venues, so you feel like you're immersed in it. 2,000 like-minded music fans. We really, these are, no matter where you grow up, this is music that impacted your life, that you have fond memories of. Everybody's moved by music, and it's just a particular type that fits with you. The guests build communities. I always tell the story. One year we had a wait list for the inside cabins and some openings for the verandas. So I said, well, call some long-time guests up and ask them if they'd like to be upgraded on our dime. It'd be our gift to them. And they all said no. And so finally I said, I have to call somebody and see why they wouldn't take a free upgrade. And they said, well, no, we live in a community on board. We're with the Smiths from Chicago and the Joneses from Tennessee, and we're in and out of each other's rooms. We would never think about moving to a different cabin. And it really blew me away to see just how excited people were to see old friends year in and year out and build a community on board. So it was really an interesting and eye-opening for me. Great shows. You see Smokey Robinson there. There's magic in the air when Smokey comes out. He puts on a great performance. He truly likes people. So, he cruises with us. And in fact, we had a golf tournament a few years ago, and 50 or 60 of the guests got to golf with them. So we also try and find things that the artist likes, and it gives them a chance to do what they like and interact with the guests. So, we have biggest names in the business, but we want names that of artists that really do like people and like to perform and really enjoy it, and still can do it really well. Great memories. People take away great memories. The things they remember are you know, sometimes less the shows than, you know, working out in the gym with an artist or having a cup of coffee early in the morning with an artist that they run into. But it's an intimate situation. In this case, you see the Guess Who lead singer. So this gal's quite close to him. And that's the kind of feeling that you have. So the autograph sessions and meet and greets and everything else is a way for people to get together. But it happens organically as well, and we love that. That's something we really encourage. Lots of interaction here. You see Maxi Priest out in the crowd, and he's actually a bartender, so we had him go behind the bar and mix drinks, and then he jumped out in front of the crowd and started playing. So it's sometimes you encourage magic and it happens on its own, and there's so many times where we just, you know, put the elements together and the artist and the guest create the magic. So you can see the look on everyone's face. They're just really having a great time. And I think we said this already, it's immersing yourself in the music and memories, and it's just, you know, it's bringing you back to a time in your life when you perhaps had less cares and you were a little younger and really enjoyed the music and probably first discovered music. A lot of these artists are ones that people grew up with and were their first couple of artists that they followed, and it's kind of exciting for them to meet them.
So I think the comment here is just to make sure that it's clear that this is a full ship charter experience. StarVista does not do any group cruises or partial charters. And the reason for that is they want to have complete control and custody of the onboard experience. So what happens is prior to this ship leaving port, a team from StarVista, about 26 people strong, get on board and quickly reconfigure the theater into a different configuration. They decorate the ship, the interior of the elevators, the public spaces, receive different wraps and things that make it look very different from what it would look if it were just a regular cruise. And so when people step on board, they're stepping into an environment and an atmosphere and an ambiance that's authentic to that music genre. The charter experience is even, you know, the things that are changed, there's no detail that isn't looked into. Even the cuisine, the dining on board can be adjusted to fit a certain theme or a certain era of time or location. So the important thing to know is that your clients will be with 2,000 like-minded guests, everyone there for the same purpose and participating for the same goal, which is to have fun in an era and in a music genre that they all associate with. There is, of course, an event coming up, an ASTA event that's referenced here, and I think this might be our final slide. I don't know if Cara wants to say some words about it or Mike, but we certainly encourage you to approach us. StarVista will be exhibiting there, will be present there, and we would love the chance to meet you in person, spend some time talking with you and learning more about you, your business, the clients you serve, and if there's any ideas or questions on how we can serve you better, we're all ears. StarVista is a continually improving and learning organization, and so much of what we do that we're proud of began with a conversation with some of our travel agent partners. So hopefully we will see you all there in Fort Lauderdale, Florida in August.
Yeah, I would reiterate that completely, David. We come from the music side of the theme music cruise. My background is in music and music labels, and so we are really open to learning as much as we can about the travel agent environment, travel advisory environment, a chance for us to kind of answer questions and also to improve. So the more feedback we get, we are truly a learning culture, because we love to hear from our guests and from our partners and try and do things better than we did the year before. I answer every email that anybody ever sends to us, and we take in advice and we get together and debrief after every cruise to see if we can do things better. So I'm hoping that this global convention is a chance for us to meet people face to face, to hear feedback, to hear suggestions, and just to get to know people. And we want to create a fun environment and a successful environment for all of us, and you only do that by listening to the best ideas of everybody involved. So we welcome that.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for such a great presentation. If we are all set, it looks like we do have some questions coming in from our advisors. Gentlemen?
Yes.
Yes. I'm sorry,
Right.
I don't see the questions, Cara. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. And just as long as you guys are all set, I'm ready to start reading them off to you.
We're great.
Oh.
We're here.
Ready.
Okay, so how do we sign up to sell?
Well, David, you can do that. I think we have a slide here actually that that outlines that. I don't know if everybody can see it.
Yes, so that's a great question, and of course a very important one. There's a couple ways. One is to go online and fill out the form that is particular for travel agents. You register yourself as a travel agent in our system by going onto starvistalive.com/travel-agents. And there's a form there you'll complete. It's very painless. It's a brief form. And what that does is that allows us to have you in our system so that when subsequent guests book, who are your clients, they're associated with the profile you've created in our system. The other option is just to call us. And if you're not too comfortable online and you want to just have someone talk you through to make sure you've dotted every I and crossed every T, there's a phone number posted, 313-203-1064. And that leads directly to a woman by the name of Jessica Rowley, who is the dedicated resource for travel agents there at StarVista. And she's happy to answer your questions. And you can email her as well, jessicar@starvistalive.com.
Thank you. In regards to marketing flyers, where would advisors go to get those?
Those are things that we can send to you. So if you register as an agent in the system and then you would like panel cards or digital promotional collateral, we can send that to you, no problem. Let us know what you're looking for, what would help you best, and if there's things that we can provide that assist you in promoting these products to your client base, we are eager to partner with you that way. And it really is, to some extent, the conversation, because we found that different travel agents interact and promote these opportunities slightly differently from each other. So let us know what you have in mind, but yeah, we're happy to provide you whatever promotional materials we can.
Is there a coordinator for large groups?
So yes, there's the same person, Jessica, is the person who would collaborate with you as it regards your interests and what you would like to do for your large group. What we can say is that there are certain travel agents who have promoted these cruises to some pretty astounding success. There's travel agents on board who bring dozens and dozens and dozens of cabins for a particular cruise every year. And what we do in those instances is, once on board, if that constituency of clients is to a level where something private and special should be done, we absolutely encourage that. We collaborate, whether that's a private cocktail party, can't always guarantee this, but even possibly have one of the artists come meet with that group to address them and thank them for being a part of the experience. There's things we can do, and there's nothing wrong with asking if you have some ideas of your own, but we certainly encourage that. Large groups on board can become a family within a family, and it's a great experience for everyone if we can help make that special for them.
Yeah, and I think that Jessica will make David and I aware if there's a large group, and we'll reach out to you directly. And if you have something that you'd like us to do, we're happy to kind of work on that. We have had artists come and stop by the travel advisory group that comes together, large groups. We've had cocktail parties. We've done excursions. So we have a lot of ability, and a lot of the artists are fun and friendly, and they really understand that you know, you're all part of this, an important part of it. So they're they're happy to do it. So we just talk about it up front and make Jessica aware of it, and she'll come to David and I, and we'll be happy to interact personally with you and plan something.
Thank you, gentlemen. So a question slightly related to this one. Are there additional costs for the meet and greets and autograph sessions?
No, there are no additional costs for meet and greets and autograph sessions. We have really one price, and the only thing where there's an upcharge would be like a wine tasting, you know, something like that, where there's a special occasion. But autograph sessions are planned, and the guests are welcome without charge. Lots of times the artist will sign after a show, so there are impromptu ways to do it, there are formal ways to do it, but there are no extra charges.
Perfect, thank you. So going off of the fact that we just mentioned wine, are there any beverage packages that are included on these cruises or that would be available for purchase?
Absolutely. They're the same drink packages that the ship offers, so you know that's something that you can pre-order or on board, and whatever celebrity in Holland America drink packages they have are available. Occasionally we've had a specific interest from guests on something, and we've created drink packages, you know, a certain beer package or whatever, but basically we parallel the ship, and the ship handles that for us, so they're all available as they would be.
Perfect, thank you. And are all of these cruise ships strictly adults only?
Yes, we have only adults, and we just think it's a different environment. First of all, our demographic is older, so their children often are older as well, so there's not a lot of young people with children or even be interested. But we don't, you know, we discourage children, and it's just an adult kind of environment. So.
Thank you. Is it possible to hold space for groups?
David, you can speak to that. I think we routinely work with people that we hold space for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, it would depend on the circumstances. As a matter of individuals booking, we can hold space for a brief period of time. So, for example, sometimes someone will call us and the ship is not sold out, and under certain circumstances, they need some time to, you know, go get their credit card or whatever it may be, or talk with their spouse about the cruise. And we try to accommodate as best we can. As the cruise starts to sell out, that becomes more difficult. But typically the reservation process is formally secured with the initial financial deposit. And there's a lot of different ways we structure that deposit schedule. So some people prefer a monthly deposit program, so others quarterly. We talk with them and discuss different ways that they can sort of, you know, finance the frequency and the size of the payments they make as they deposit and then make their final payments for the cruise. Now, I think the question, if I understood it right, pertained particularly to groups, and that's a different situation. I would suggest that if someone has a group that is an affinity group, it's an affiliated group of people who are used to traveling as a group and therefore need to be approached perhaps at a certain meeting, regular scheduled meeting or something like that. Here at Corporate Travel, we run into that quite a bit. Just call us, talk to us about it. We will be as flexible and accommodating as we can, depending on the time frame that's required to give them the time to proliferate the information and the announcement of this opportunity to them.
Perfect. And we're discussing deposits. Are deposits refundable?
They are not, and what we encourage, and all of the reservationists will be very forward about, is the benefits that come with the trip protection. We do not, the deposits are not refundable, and we've never found this to be a problem. The people who book in this demographic are used to whatever risks and concerns may prevent them from traveling from the time they deposit until the time that cruise is scheduled to go. And so we have a pretty high take rate on the trip protection, and we found that in those cases, the people have the protection they need if they have to disenroll themselves from the cruise, and they're protected. And then every now and then, lamentably, sometimes someone does have to cancel the cruise and they have not purchased the trip protection, but they certainly understand because we're very, on behalf of you, the agents, and they, the clients, we're very upfront about the terms for the deposits on the cruises and how important trip protection is in our estimation.
All right, thank you. Do clients have the option to book on board?
They do on every cruise, and with each passing year, the percentage who books on board continues to grow. So what we have on board all these cruises is a dedicated sales office, and it's open, if it's a 7-day cruise, it's open all 7 days, from about 8 or 9 in the morning until 5 o'clock at night. So they have the entire time on board to consider whether or not they want to rebook for next year. One thing that's probably a little more detail than is necessary, but I'll just mention it, is that we want to give actually a little bit of benefit and advantage to our loyal returning customers. So for the people who are on board who wish to book the cruise, they have the option for the first 3 days of each cruise. They have the option not just to book next year's cruise, but to guarantee that they receive the same cabin that they're in. So if someone is a suite holder and they want to make sure they don't risk losing that cabin, we protect the first 3 days. Nobody can book a cabin except the one they're currently in, which gives people a chance to make sure they don't lose the precious cabin that they've fallen in love with. And for a couple of the cruises, it's only on 2 of the cruises, for some of the concerts in the main theater, there's assigned seating, and the same thing applies there. For those concerts that have assigned seating, people can book the same seat if they rebook the cruise on board. The same seat in the theater, that is.
Yeah, we come at it a couple of ways, just to interject. We announced the subsequent year's lineup to a large degree about a month before we sail. So a month before we sail 2019, we announced 2020's lineup, which gives guests a chance to look at that, decide whether they want to join us or not. And we have a special pre-sailing sale. So if you don't want to wait online when you get on board, or you want to make sure you lock it up, you can actually buy your cabin for 2020 before you get on 2019, about 3 or 4 weeks ahead of time. And there are financial incentives to book either before you get on board or while you're on board. It's the lowest price that a guest will ever see. The prices never go down after that. It's something that we don't do. We don't discount along the way. And so we have quite a bit of, so we may have 100 people, 100 cabins sold before we even get on for the following year, and then a couple of hundred that we book on board. We found it useful because some guests just want to enjoy every moment of music, and they just want to kind of put it behind them. They've been with us a number of years. They know they're in, so we do that as well. And then we release it to the public when we get back. So it's really a closed offer up until the day we get back and open it to the public.
I'm sorry, gentlemen, just to reiterate, once an advisor books with someone under their agency, do they have to do anything if they were to rebook directly with you?
No, that's a negative. Once they've booked once an advisor books a client, in our system, there's an automatic and permanent association in our reservation system. So that client can book himself or herself for a subsequent cruise, and automatically their name and their reservation is associated with you, the travel advisor.
They can book a different cruise as well. So they can book the same cruise subsequent year, or a different cruise, or both the same cruise and a different cruise, and they're always linked with their travel advisor.
Perfect, thank you. Co-branded flyers, is this allowed? And second part to this question, do you have any Facebook ads that advisors could post to their own Facebook pages?
So for the first part of the question, we've not done any co-branding. There are, in a couple of instances, some promotional partners that we work with on certain cruises who sort of reserve the right to do some co-branding for these cruises. For our travel advisors, the travel agencies we work with, we haven't ever done that historically. And the second question was, in regard to Facebook, yes, there absolutely are. The StarVista marketing machine is very prolific and involved with social media, and there are Facebook feeds that can be downloaded and adopted by your respective organizations and posted to help you promote this. Absolutely.
Perfect. And then it looks like we just have 2 more questions before we go ahead and announce our winners. Which cruise line is being used for the Rock and Romance cruise?
That's Celebrity.
Okay. And our last question, early dinner / late show. What does that mean? Will every guest be able to see the artist show?
Yes, every guest gets to see the headline show because every headliner in the main theater does 2 shows. So you'll either see them early or late. It's not always on the same day. Some artists can't do 2 shows in one day, but they do an early and a late. And so you'll have an early dinner or late dinner, and then you'll conversely have an early show or a late show. We have 2 seatings for dinner and 2 different shows. And so everyone will have one or the other, which means that you'll get to see all the artists. Even when we do a daytime show, we'll do 2 daytime shows, one on a Wednesday and one on a Thursday, and Wednesday will be the early dinner folks, and Thursday will be the other folks. So we have card keys that have an indication of which one you're in, gold or silver or whatever. So yes, the answer is you'll be able to see the artists.
Thank you so much for that explanation. And it looks like we did just have one more come in. Is there an 80s cruise by chance?
Not yet, but we listen, and so if people are interested in it, that'll be our next era of nostalgia probably. So it's hang on.
Yeah, and the other thing I would add is that I'm a product of the 80s myself, and a lot of the artists that you were familiar with in the 80s, a lot of them started in the 70s. So there is crossover, and I would encourage any of your clients who consider themselves fans of the 80s music to look carefully at either the Rock and Romance or even the 70s cruise, and you'll see a lot of names and performers that we knew them in the 80s as well. And so there is crossover, and it's great to experience it that way.
Thank you. All right, so thank you, gentlemen, again for such an informative presentation. To all of our advisors who joined us today, please be sure to download this presentation from the handout section from your GoToWebinar pane before I end this webinar today. So again, this will be on your GoToWebinar pane, which pops up on your left-hand side underneath of the handouts section. So now it's time for our very anticipated giveaways. For our gift card, our lucky winner is going to be Miss Camille Adams. Miss Camille Adams, you are the lucky winner of our gift card giveaway today on behalf of ASTA. And drum roll, please. We are very, very excited to announce that Miss Diane Shields, you are our lucky our lucky cruise winner from our amazing presenters today. I'll be reaching out to both of you ladies via email shortly and connecting you with the respective parties. As I mentioned, this webinar was being recorded, so if you would like to listen to this presentation again, it will be available to ASTA members on asta.org by the end of the week. Thank you again to our partners at StarVista Live. David and Mike, it was an absolute pleasure working with you, and thank you to all of you advisors who took time out of your day today to join us for this presentation. We all hope you have an absolutely wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, Cara.
Thank you, Cara.
Oh, thank you, gentlemen.